EA and DICE are planning to put very deep movement system into Battlefield 6. And as somebody who has played all the so-called no-movement Battlefield games like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Hardline and Battlefield 1, and as somebody who also plays Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042, I really wanted to put my opinion about the movement system and what we should hope that it achieves and what we should hope that it balances out. The name is Ace, welcome back to another Battlefield video. A few days ago I posted a Battlefield video which was me talking about the current progress of DICE in Battlefield 6. And in that video it featured me playing Battlefield 5. And a lot of my viewers for that video really had an issue with Battlefield 5's movement. One of the comments says, just the background footage of Battlefield 5 makes me sick. The slide, what the fuck, don't copy COD, will soon turn into an Unreal Tournament game. I replied to this person that I said in my other videos, but it's relevant here. For me personally, as you can see, I'm well versed in movement in Battlefield 5, but as someone who comes from Battlefield 3 and won multiple tournaments, I'm also fine with no movement. So whatever comes, I will easily adapt, and thanks for watching. Another comment says the two things I'm not liking is the footage I saw that they brought sliding back, and he thinks that it's gonna ruin the game. Before we move deeper in, let's say what DICE said. And DICE says, to evolve the movement system, we revamped animations and reintroduced movement features such as crowd sprint, combat dive, and landing roll, and added visual indicators to make it easier to understand when movements such as vaulting or leaning are possible. They continue, movement is also deeply integrated with gunplay, as your actions and targets are all part of the same cohesive combat experience. We aim to make moving both feel intuitive and rewarding to move between the world and during combat. They also say, but also when playing against somebody using both the gunplay and movement system to their maximum potential. In my opinion, movement is a skill expression. I said this in multiple videos and I stand by this still. I think knowing how to move around the map, knowing how to slide correctly, knowing how to change slides into bunny hops in Battlefield 2042, knowing how to cancel slides in Call of Duty, and all these games that feature, deep movement systems is a skill expression. It's nearly as important, or even in some cases more important, than actually aiming the gun itself. When you aim the gun, you have to know basic things. You have to know how to have good crosshair placement. You need to know how to lead your targets if your gun has, low muzzle velocity bullets firing from its barrel. You need to know how to drag people, and you need to know how to flick shoot, and you need to know how to pre-fire. Now, what I said might sound like a lot, but compared to the movement system, it really isn't. It's, standard stuff. And if you have been playing first-person shooters for the past 15 years like I have, these basic aiming mechanics are, not that strange to me personally. So if you have been doing the same thing, they shouldn't be strange to you either. That doesn't mean that you're gonna be consistent at all times, being somebody who aims all the time, but you will have the fundamentals down in your bones. And if you are that person who has been playing first-person shooters for the past 15 years, and you played all of the Battlefield games, you played all of the Counter-Strike, you played everything, okay? That puts you at around same age as I am. And that might shock you, I'm actually 34 years old. And I don't feel 34 when I'm playing. I don't feel like I have became worse in aiming or movement by any stretch of the imagination. If anything, the years of experience made me better every year. I aim better, I move better, I understand the maps better. It only makes me better. Basically what I'm trying to say, if you put just a little bit of tiny work into movement, just a little bit, it doesn't really have to be a lot. Just slide once per map, slide twice per map, slide 3 times per map. Understand how to use the new combat roll or the dolphin dive or the other, whatever they're bringing in. If you use it a couple of times, it's gonna become muscle memory. For me personally, man, I have to be honest, when I switch between Battlefield 1, a game that has basically no movement. Yes, we have a slide, but that slide is never used aggressively or offensively. I use the slide to get into cover sometimes, not even often, because it locks you into place for a very long time, and sometimes people just chase you or there's a plane coming and so on. So I don't use it often. And then, as we have established earlier, when I play Battlefield 5, I used everything. I slide cancel into a jump, I'm shooting my gun while I'm jumping, in hipfire, in ADS, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I utilize the movement to, its maximum potential when I can. And when I am doing that, for me this is as natural as riding a bike, even when I'm just switching between games that have no movement and games that have movement. This is how it feels for me. I developed muscle memory for just by using it a little bit in other Battlefield games. Now listen, I'm not saying that this is gonna make you hate movement less. If you're somebody who fundamentally hates movement, you will hate movement even if you know how to use it. Nobody's gonna be able to change your mind here. But will your enjoyment of the game increase if you know how to move around the map a little bit better rather than being static like in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 1? Absolutely, and I stand by that. If you do this, your enjoyment of the game will increase. And I have to say something else as well. If we go to the route of having, a Battlefield 3 no movement game, which I'm fine as well with, as I mentioned many times, I'm fine with playing a game that has no movement. I'm playing Battlefield 1 here as well. It has no movement and I'm doing completely fine. if it goes down that route, will Battlefield, is this really healthy for Battlefield? Should Battlefield go down to the route where we're all just sitting in a building holding angles while we're getting destroyed by vehicles? Because if we go out into the open, we cannot escape the vehicles. We're gonna die to helicopters, to tanks, to LAVs, to jets and everything else because, you know, they're flying, they're very fast, and we cannot really, we don't have movement. So is it very wise to have another vehicle farming game? Because I think people misunderstand what Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 really were, and those were, in my opinion, a very, very heavy vehicle games. Yes, you could play infantry, but it is no coincidence that everybody enjoyed playing, you know, Metro, Operation Locker, North Shore Canals, TDM more than they enjoyed playing the vehicle maps. And I think if they had the movement, perhaps they would play the vehicle maps a little bit more if they understood, hey, the tank, he isn't very good. And I think if I slide and cancel it into a bunny hop, and I can go around that corner and backshoot him because I know he cannot aim very good, so I'm just going to use the movement and outplay him. I think if people had that type of, you know, access in Battlefield 4, just hypothetically, I'm not saying it should have been that way, just hypothetically, perhaps more of those maps would be played rather than just in it being an Operation Locker game only. However, there is also a border that can be crossed where movement becomes, you know, absolutely painful for the game and it becomes more of a crutch. Look at Black Ops 6 Call of Duty, the least, you know, played Call of Duty to my knowledge to date. There's like nobody playing the fucking game, yeah? The movement there, the Omni movement, you know, it really revolves around you just laying on, like, on your back and just shooting people and, you know, just diving into every doorway. And yeah, it looks absolutely ridiculous. But will Battlefield move that way? I don't think so. I mean, they already said it. They want to balance out people who know how to use movement between players who don't know how to use movement. So will we have that? Of course not, guys. And I think if that was your concern, that this is going to be Call of Duty, it won't be. Will it have movement similar to Battlefield 5? Probably. I mean, I think that's the one game they have movement in. And the little I have seen about the movement, you cannot really chain your slide into multiple bunny hops like you can in Battlefield 2042. It seems to be more of, you know, a Battlefield 5 slide. You just jump once and that's, you know, that's it. And it's in one direction as well. I think it's more of the basic movement, right? And I think since they are bringing movement, and obviously it's unavoidable for the next game, I think having an approach where they slowly ease up the community into movement is better than just immediately adding things which, in my opinion, are, you know, they're fine and they're fun mechanics, but they're not necessary. You know, do we really need a crouch sprint? Do we need a dodge roll? And do we need a dolphin dive for a game where, you know, you're trying to bring people back? I don't think so. You know, I think keeping it a little bit more minimalistic for Battlefield 6 might be a better approach. But I cannot really give you my opinion about how strong the movement is without actually playing the game. Listen, I'll tell you this. If I load up Battlefield Labs or Battlefield 6 Beta or whatever it's gonna be, and I go into a tank and I go 100 to 0 immediately, and I go, you know, very often on massive kill streaks in tanks, that means the movement is not good. That means the people aren't utilizing the movement, or it's too frustrating to use, so people just avoid it completely, and that ends up in them dying to vehicles much more often than they would if they were utilizing the movement. So then perhaps it's underpowered and might be, you know, might need to have some looking at to. But if I go into a tank and I'm struggling to kill people as often as I usually would in Battlefield 3 and BF4 because people, you know, have really clicked with the movement, then perhaps, in my opinion, they are having a solid direction with the movement. But like I said, without me playing it, I cannot give you an opinion. I will say this, what I saw about Battlefield 6 movement didn't look as it's actually nerfed compared to Battlefield 2042 in my opinion. I mean, in Battlefield 2042, you can chain your slide into multiple bunny hops, and in that game, it seemed that you can just slide and then just jump once at the end of it, like in Battlefield 5. So I think it's gonna be more of the so-called simplistic movement. So I'm just telling you guys, don't panic yet, okay? Let's play the game first and then see how effective the movement is. Is it, you know, very oppressive? Is it, you know, underpowered? How is it? And I'm telling you, when we get into the vehicles and seeing how easily we demolish infantry, that's going to be a very good sign, and, you know, about how strong it is. I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's just very important to understand that point. The vehicles will tell us how good the movement is, because if you have people going 3000 in a helicopter, the movement sucks, and, you know, the infantry isn't very good, okay? It's not just about the movement. I know the launchers might suck as well, but you know what I mean. They're gonna die easier if they cannot run away from the helicopter into a building. Well, that's it from this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, then you know what to do. Leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment for the algo. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.